There is only one thing standing between you and the success that you really want, and that's what's going on in here. So if you are ready to crush those mindset demons, then you are going to love what I've got in store for you. I have just finished recording a brand new podcast series on exactly how you can crush those mindset demons and reach those new levels of success in a whole new way. And because you're a YouTube subscriber, I'm going to give you additional training every single week on how to take that concept with a particular exercise so you can really take control of your mindset. So if you're ready, let's dive into episode number 1. So let's be honest, when we are in that space where we're not getting the results that we want, we're not making enough progress, even though we're working really hard, like we've been working our butts off for a really long time, it can be soul destroying, frustrating at best. And in those moments, it's really easy for us to tell ourselves a story about how it's not possible for someone like me, that I'm not cut out for it, that I'm clearly missing something that those other really successful people have, and I just don't have access to that. I want to tell you right now, that's absolute bull, right? The problem actually in reality is that we don't have the right conditioning. We don't have the right program. So we're functioning from an identity that we probably don't even know we have until we start having these kind of conversations that doesn't allow us to think and act at the level that we need to be at. So it's not that there's anything wrong with you. It's just that we're in this kind of world where we're pushed into learning about doing things, and we're not encouraged to have a look at the main strategy in our business, in our life, which is us. How do I show up as a strategy every day? What do I need to think and do differently in order to create this different outcome? So right at the beginning, we said that one thing standing between you and that success that you want, whatever that looks like for you, the way that you're going to get there is to learn how to direct your thinking. It's about shifting your identity to become the person that you need to become. So I've got 3 main questions here that the world's most successful people will use versus what the less successful or unsuccessful people use. And it's really all about you being the driver of your bus, you understanding that in every single moment you get to choose where to direct your attention. So the first question the first statement that I hear a lot is this one here: I don't know how. I don't know how. And when we say I don't know how, listen what happens. Boom, the door shuts. The door shuts on any possible opportunities, any resources, any ideas, because we've stated very categorically and powerfully, I don't know how. Now, that's not to say it's not true. Maybe you don't know how to do that thing right now. But there is a question that opens the door, which is this one here. What must I learn? What must I learn? That's the first question that you're going to ask yourself as a successful person. You see the reality right now of not knowing that thing, but then we immediately go to what must I learn? So this is one of the things, again, going back to, small business owners buying into tons of strategies, is totally understandable because the marketing is made to trigger your not enoughness. Your marketing is made to highlight to you the pain that you're in because you don't have this thing. But what that's allowing you to do is to keep buying into the fact that there is this one strategy that's going to make the biggest difference between where you are and that success. But you can have, and some of you will have, a ton of courses, freebies, opt-ins on your laptop, on your Macs. And there's going to be so much information in there that you haven't consumed because you don't have the identity of the person that's identified, like, what is it that I must learn now to take me to the next step? Strategies are pointless. They're as useful as a chocolate fire guard if you don't have the mentality and the level of thinking that directs you to complete it and then to implement it. The next one that we hear a lot of is I don't have the email list. I don't have the community. I don't have I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the platform. I don't have the money, blah, 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 blah. Again, may be true, but can you see these are statements rather than questions? And statements are a closing experience, a constricting experience. And I want you to imagine now that those levels of constriction actually provide clarity for where you need to become more competent. I'm going to repeat that. Where you feel right now this constriction by something, a limitation, that constriction creates clarity for where you need to become more competent, where you need to learn. So when you're aware of there is something, you don't have this thing that you think you need, your next question becomes, how can I create, generate, or obtain this? How can I create the email list? How can I obtain this platform? How can I generate this, that, or the other? Again, it's coming down to directing our mindset to understand what must I learn, what must I do in order to get the thing that I want, rather than just being so overwhelmed by the awareness of you not having it that you use that as a reasonable justification to stop taking action. The last thing, and for me, probably the most important thing, and certainly the one thing that kept me stuck for the longest time in my business and was the most painful lesson ever, and I warn all of you when you go on this journey that there is a great deal of process pain. We're going to talk about that in way more detail when we go into the courage section of this series. Even if you're not saying this statement to yourself out loud, I can bet your bottom dollar, if you're not where you want to be yet and you feel like you're treading water, swimming in circles, that there is some kind of story going around in your head that sounds similar to this. I'm just not that kind of person. I'm just not that kind of person. I'm not the kind of person who wants to get up at 5 a.m. and do this. I'm not the kind of person that wants to follow a strategy. I'm not the kind of person who can make that amount of money easily. I'm not the kind of person that can sell like that. Let me tell you right off the bat that this is the most important probably statement I'm going to say in this whole 5 episodes, right? You need to ask yourself this question instead. Who do I need to be? Because right now, most of you are a product of your conditioning. Your freedom lies in the understanding that you need to become a product of your consciousness, a product of your choices, not of what somebody else has sort of implanted into you. When you're a product of your conditioning, everything feels like you. This is me. This is who I am. But when was the last time you challenged that? If you're not asking yourself who you need to be, ask yourself this question. What version of you is showing up for yourself right now? How much have you really refined your conditioning so that you are not thinking out of your conditioning? Because here's what happens. I want you to imagine for a moment that your brain is full of buckets. And those buckets represent your beliefs and the meanings and the values that you have around those big key life areas. So think about health, all things money and financial. Think about spirituality. Think about, world peace. Think about relationships. Think about your physical body. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of buckets in your brain based on these big things in life. And those buckets over your years of growing up have been filled up with water, right? But it's not your water. It's all the things that you heard, all the things that you saw, and how those things made you feel. They become your filters for the rest of your life. Your buckets are your filters, only they're filled with other people's water. And now many of those are going to be stagnant and smelly and dirty. And in order for you to become a product of your consciousness and to create clean filters so that you have context to make new and more powerful decisions and generate from new opportunities, you have to empty those buckets, go buy beautiful, bright, luminous new ones, fill them with clean, fresh spring water, and choose how you filter your information and choose how you direct that internal conversation. It's time to rewrite the story of your life. And it starts by rewriting one story at a time. So you create this whole new identity. And that's really what all this series is about how do we take these concepts of proven high performance habits that the world's most successful people use and merge it with, for me, what is absolutely necessary, which is changing your identity to allow you to do those things. Because I am not going to sit here and tell you right now that change is easy. If you're looking for easy change, you are listening to the wrong person. I'm going to tell you it's hard. I'm going to tell you it's going to take longer than you think. And I'm also going to tell you, it is beyond worth it when you look back and you realize how far you've come and how you are now shining so much more brightly the truth of who you've always been. But conditioning has constricted you for probably decades, and it's time to put that to a stop, because if you want your business to succeed, you have to elevate to a whole new level and remember the truth of who and what you are. So that's the first episode, and that leads me into sort of saying to you that what's going to come up is we're going to have conversation exercises around courage and fear, around productivity, around how we generate energy. And this is not just about like staying awake. The energy piece is so much bigger than that. And then also how we really become a master of our psychology. If you can do all of those things and remembering that, what must I learn? How can I create, generate, obtain? And who do I need to be? Your life can completely change this year. Your life can completely change this month. But it's going to take a lot of grit and a lot of gumption and a lot of determination. You've got to want this thing bad. So I hope you've enjoyed this first episode. Make sure that whether you're on the podcast or whether you're on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe. And if you are on YouTube, make sure you hit the bell to get notified, because there's exercises that are only on YouTube that are going to go along with every single episode in this series. So thank you for joining me. Let's get ready to crush those mindset demons. Start with those 3 questions rather than the statements. And I'll speak to you again next week. Bye for now.